Questions. My dear friends, in a world that's shouting for attention, like shares, views, followers, there's a rare kind of power in silence. Everyone wants to be seen, but few want to be built. Questions. And here's a secret I've learned: loud success fades, quiet growth lasts. The bamboo tree takes 5 years to break through the ground, 5 long years of nothing visible. But during that time, questions, it's building strong roots deep in the soil. And when it finally grows, it shoots up 90 feet in just 6 weeks. So, my friends, the real question is, are you chasing quick applause? Questions. Or are you building deep roots quietly? Questions. In the world we live in today, almost everything has become a performance. People wake up and the first thing they do is check their notifications. How many people liked my post? Questions. How many views did my reel get? How many followers did I gain overnight? We are constantly measuring our worth in the number of claps we receive from the world. Questions. But here's a truth that is both simple and powerful: loud success fades, quiet growth lasts. Look around. Everyone wants to look successful, but very few want to become successful. Questions. Everyone wants to be seen working hard, but very few want to actually work hard when no one is watching. Loud success is that shiny trophy you show to the world. Questions. Quiet growth is the unseen discipline that earned that trophy in the first place. Let me share something that perfectly explains this. Have you ever seen a bamboo tree grow? It's fascinating. Questions. For the first 5 years after planting the seed, nothing seems to happen. You water it, nurture it, give it sunlight, but it doesn't show any sign of growth. Questions. You start to doubt yourself. Did I do something wrong? Is it even alive? But here's the miracle: while you see nothing on the surface, the bamboo is working quietly underground. Questions. Building a deep and strong root system that can support its towering height later. Then, in just a few weeks, it shoots up nearly 90 feet into the sky. People see the sudden rise and say, wow. Questions. It grew overnight. But the truth is, it didn't grow overnight. It grew silently for 5 years. That's the power of quiet growth. Questions. What the world calls overnight success is usually 5 or 10 years of unseen effort, early mornings, late nights, and quiet consistency. Let's take a simple example from our daily life. Questions. Imagine 2 students preparing for an exam. One keeps talking about how hard he's studying. Every day he posts pictures of his books, hashtags like a study Motivational questions, and motivational quotes on his stories. The other student doesn't say much. He quietly studies for an hour every morning, reviews his notes daily, and revises steadily. The day of the exam comes. Questions. The first student is nervous because his study was more about showing off than growing. The second one walks in calmly and performs well because his effort was real, not rehearsed for an audience. Questions. This is exactly what happens in life too. Loud success needs attention to survive. Quiet growth needs only discipline. Questions. We live in an age where people build their image before they build their character. But remember, image without depth collapses. It's like a beautiful balloon. It looks big and bright. Questions. But one small prick and it's gone. Quiet growth, on the other hand, is like a tree. It takes time to grow, but once it does, it provides shade, fruit, and strength to others as well. Questions. One of the greatest examples of quiet growth is found in nature. Consider how the sun rises. It doesn't make noise. It doesn't announce, "Hey everyone." Questions. I'm coming. It simply rises quietly, and yet its presence is felt everywhere. Flowers open, birds start singing, and life begins to move. True greatness doesn't have to shout. Questions. It simply shines. In our personal lives, quiet growth can mean different things for different people. For a student, it's the daily study routine, even when no one notices. For a professional, questions. It's learning a new skill after work without broadcasting it. For a parent, it's silently sacrificing comfort for the sake of the family. For a young entrepreneur, questions. It's facing failure after failure and still showing up again. None of this may look glamorous on social media, but these quiet efforts build strength, resilience, questions, and depth, qualities that last far beyond temporary applause. Loud success is like fireworks. It catches attention, it dazzles, it makes noise, but it fades within seconds. Questions. Quiet growth is like the stars. They don't make noise, but they shine every night, consistently, silently, beautifully. Sometimes we get discouraged when our efforts aren't being noticed. Questions. You may think, I'm working so hard, but no one appreciates it. But remember, you're not growing for people's appreciation. You're growing for your own transformation. Questions. When no one claps for you, clap for yourself. When no one praises your effort, remind yourself that the roots are still growing. Every small act of consistency, every day of showing up, questions, every moment of quiet discipline, they all count. Think of the people who truly inspire you. Most of them didn't become who they are by seeking attention. Questions. They became who they are by staying focused, committed, and patient. When you quietly invest in yourself, physically, mentally, emotionally, questions, and spiritually, you're preparing for a life that doesn't depend on validation. The truth is, when you build yourself quietly, your results will one day make the noise for you. People will ask questions. How did you become so confident, so successful, so wise? And you'll smile because you'll know it wasn't a sudden miracle. It was years of quiet effort, discipline, and faith. Questions. So don't rush to show your progress. Water your bamboo seed patiently. Be that sunrise that doesn't shout but still lights up the world. Your time will come. And when it does, questions. Your quiet growth will speak louder than any post, caption, or applause ever could. Questions. In this fast-paced world where everyone is running after something, success, fame, validation, or even attention, we often forget one of the most valuable things we possess, our energy. Questions. Our energy is our emotional, mental, and spiritual fuel. It's what helps us think clearly, love deeply, and live meaningfully. But the truth is, we give it away too easily. To the wrong people, questions. To unnecessary arguments, to endless scrolling, and to worries that don't deserve space in our minds. Protecting your energy doesn't mean isolating yourself from the world. Questions. It means becoming aware of what drains you and what nourishes you. Because when you keep letting negativity, drama, or noise enter your space, you slowly lose your peace. And when peace goes, questions, everything else begins to crumble. Think of your energy like the battery on your phone. You don't let everyone use your charger, do you? You charge your phone carefully. Questions. You make sure it doesn't overheat and you check it regularly. But when it comes to your inner battery, your peace, your joy, your enthusiasm, you let anyone drain it freely. Questions. A negative conversation, a gossip session, a toxic friend, an unnecessary comparison. They all take a small piece of your energy away. By the end of the day, you're mentally exhausted, questions, emotionally dry, and spiritually empty. Imagine this: you wake up in the morning feeling fresh and positive. You have 100% energy. But then someone cuts you off in traffic. You lose 10%. Questions. You scroll through social media and see someone living a better life. You lose another 15%. You argue with a colleague over something small. Another 20% gone. By lunchtime, questions. You're drained. Not because your day was tough, but because you gave your energy away to things that didn't deserve it. The art of protecting your energy starts with awareness. Questions. You must know what kind of environment, people, and activities recharge you, and what drains you. There are people in your life who, after talking to them, you feel lighter, happier, inspired. Questions. And there are others who, after 5 minutes, make you feel exhausted. They complain, criticize, and drain your enthusiasm. You can't avoid everyone. Questions. but you can choose how much access they get to your heart. Not everyone deserves a front row seat in your life. Some people are meant to sit in the audience. Questions. There's a story of a monk who lived on the outskirts of a city. Every morning he would walk to the city to teach people about peace and mindfulness. One day a man shouted at him, insulted him, questions, and tried to provoke him. The monk simply smiled and walked away. The next day the same thing happened. A disciple asked, "Master, why don't you respond to him?" The monk smiled and said, "Questions. If someone offers you a gift and you refuse to take it, who does it belong to?" The disciple said, "It still belongs to the giver." The monk said, "Exactly. His anger is his gift." Questions. I choose not to accept it, but protecting your energy is about that choice. You can't stop people from being negative, but you can stop yourself from absorbing their negativity. Questions. You can't control what they say, but you can control what you keep inside. In daily life, protecting your energy might look like saying no when you truly don't have the time or space to help. Questions. It might look like turning off your phone for an hour to be present with yourself. It might mean walking away from gossip or smiling and staying silent instead of joining an argument. Questions. It's not about being rude, it's about being wise, because your energy is not infinite. Think about a beautiful garden. If you let everyone walk through it carelessly, stepping on flowers, questions, plucking leaves and leaving trash behind, it will soon lose its beauty. But if you protect it, you water it, fence it, and only allow gentle hands to care for it, it will bloom. Questions. Your mind and heart are like that garden. Not everyone should have the permission to walk through it. Sometimes even the smallest things steal our energy. Overthinking the past. Questions. Worrying about the future, trying to please everyone. You can't live peacefully if you're constantly trying to control what's beyond your control. Learn to let go. Learn to say, questions. This doesn't deserve my energy today. When you protect your energy, something beautiful happens. Your clarity increases. You stop reacting to every small thing. Questions. You begin to feel calm even when chaos is around you. You stop needing to prove yourself to others because you're content within. Questions. There's a kind of strength that comes from silence. Not the silence of weakness, but the silence of wisdom. When you don't respond to negativity, people might call you cold or distant. Questions. But in truth, you're conserving your peace. You're choosing maturity over reaction. And that choice is the mark of inner power. Think of the ocean. Waves crash, winds blow, storms come and go. Questions. But deep within, the ocean remains calm. That's how your inner self should be, undisturbed by the surface noise. When you protect your energy, you become like that ocean. Peaceful, powerful. Questions. And still. So the next time someone tries to pull you into unnecessary drama, smile and step away. The next time you feel tempted to argue, just to prove your point, questions, remind yourself, peace is more precious than being right. The next time you feel drained, disconnect and recharge. Sit quietly, breathe deeply, and return to yourself. Questions. Protect your energy like a sacred treasure, because that's exactly what it is. It's your life force. It's your ability to love, to create, to dream. Questions. And if you waste it on things that don't matter, you'll have nothing left for the things that truly do. When you guard your peace, you guard your purpose. When you protect your energy, questions, you preserve your power. And when you preserve your power, you begin to live a life that is calm on the outside and glowing on the inside. Because real strength is not in shouting, reacting, questions, or proving. Real strength is in staying calm, composed and centered, quietly powerful. That is the beauty of protecting your energy. Questions. Learning is not something that ends when you finish school or college. It's not confined to classrooms, textbooks, or degrees. Learning is a lifelong journey. A quiet, personal questions. and deeply transformative process. The world belongs not to those who think they know everything, but to those who are humble enough to keep learning every single day, even when no one's watching. Questions. We often believe that growth happens only when others recognize our progress. But true learning doesn't need an audience. It just needs curiosity and consistency. Questions. The most successful people in the world didn't learn to impress anyone. They learned because they were passionate about understanding more, about improving questions, and about becoming a better version of themselves. Think of a musician practicing in a small room late at night. No one is watching, no one is clapping, and yet questions. They keep playing the same tune over and over again, refining each note, perfecting each beat. Why? Because they love it. Because deep inside they know that one day, questions, that quiet practice will echo as music that touches hearts. That's what it means to learn when no one's watching. You're not doing it for applause. You're doing it for your becoming. Questions. There's a story of a sculptor who was once carving a statue. He worked long hours, shaping and smoothing every corner with precision. One day, questions. A passerby noticed him working on the back of the statue, a part that would eventually face the wall and never be seen. The man asked questions. Why are you putting so much effort into something no one will see? The sculptor smiled and said, questions. Because I will see it, part. That's the spirit of quiet learning. Doing your best even when no one notices. Because you know that excellence is not about showing off. Questions. It's about who you become in the process. Every day gives us 1,000 opportunities to learn. From people, from mistakes, from experiences, from silence. The problem is questions. We often think we already know enough. The moment you think you know it all, you stop growing. The wisest people are not those with the most answers, but those who ask the most sincere questions. Take an example from daily life. Suppose you work in an office. Every day you do your tasks, attend meetings, send emails. The routine continues. But in that same routine, questions. You can either just survive or you can learn. You can choose to learn a new skill, understand how your team works better, or observe how your leader communicates. Questions. Small observations lead to big lessons if you stay curious. You don't need to announce that you're learning, you just need to stay open. The moment you stop learning, life becomes repetitive, questions, dull and mechanical. But when you keep learning, even the ordinary becomes extraordinary. A cup of tea can teach you patience as you wait for it to brew. Questions. A conversation with a stranger can teach you empathy. A failure can teach you resilience. A quiet evening alone can teach you self-reflection. The classroom of life is always open. The question is, questions. Are you attending? In this world of instant information, we often confuse knowing with learning. You can Google anything in seconds. Questions. But true learning doesn't happen through speed. It happens through experience and reflection. Reading about swimming is not the same as jumping into the water. Questions. Watching a video about discipline is not the same as waking up early and practicing it. Real learning happens when knowledge meets action. When you build yourself quietly through learning. Questions. Something beautiful happens inside you. Your confidence grows not because you know more than others, but because you understand yourself better. You begin to respond to life differently. Questions. Instead of reacting to problems, you start reflecting on them. Instead of asking, why me? Questions. You start asking, what can I learn from this? Every person you meet can teach you something. The honest can teach you trust. The dishonest can teach you caution. Questions. The patient can teach you peace. The angry can teach you control. The mistake can teach you awareness. And the success can teach you gratitude. When you see life as your teacher, questions. Every moment becomes meaningful. There's a quiet joy in learning for yourself. No grades, no applause, no competition, just the deep satisfaction of becoming wiser, calmer questions, and more capable each day. The world may not notice this inner growth immediately, but when the time comes, it will shine through everything you do. In your words, in your work questions, and in your character. Let's take another real life example. Think of an athlete training before dawn. When everyone else is asleep, they're running in the cold, pushing their limits, questions, sweating in silence. No cameras, no crowd, no trophies. Just discipline and desire. Months later, when they stand on the podium, people see the medal but not the mornings. Questions. That's how learning works. The real lessons happen in the quiet hours no one sees. Learning every day also means being open to correction. When someone points out a mistake, questions. Instead of feeling insulted, see it as a mirror that helps you grow. The ego resists correction, but wisdom embraces it. The more you learn, the more you realize how much more there is to learn. So, questions. Whether it's reading a few pages of a book, practicing a skill for 10 minutes, reflecting on your day, or simply listening deeply to someone. Do it with sincerity. Questions. Even if no one appreciates it today, your future self will thank you for it. Because the knowledge you gain quietly will one day guide you loudly. Questions. The wisdom you collect in silence will one day shine through your actions. Never underestimate the power of small, daily learning. A single drop of water may seem tiny, questions, but over time it can shape a rock. In the same way, consistent learning shapes your destiny. So learn every day, even when no one's watching. Read, listen, observe, reflect. Be curious like a child, questions, humble like a student, and persistent like a craftsman. Because true learning doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens in the quiet hours when you choose growth over comfort. Questions. And when that growth becomes visible one day, the world will admire your wisdom without realizing how many silent days it took to earn it. Questions. Keep learning quietly, because wisdom whispered in silence becomes greatness that lasts forever. Questions. There's a kind of beauty that comes from serving others without wanting anything in return. It's a quiet kind of beauty, one that doesn't need applause, cameras, or recognition. Questions. In a world where people often ask, "What will I get from this?" there's something deeply powerful about asking instead. Questions. What can I give? A serving without expectation is one of the most noble and transformative ways to grow as a human being. It's not about being selfless in a dramatic way, questions, but about doing small acts of goodness from the heart. When you do something kind without keeping score, you don't just help others, you heal something within yourself. But sadly, questions, we've started attaching conditions to kindness. We say, "I helped them, but they didn't even thank me," or "I was there for them, but they never returned the favor." And slowly, questions, our giving becomes transactional. True service, however, comes from love, not logic. It's about doing what's right because it's right, not because it's rewarded. Questions. There's a story of an old woman who lived in a small village. Every morning, she would go to a barren piece of land near her home and scatter handfuls of seeds. When asked why she was doing it, questions, she said, "One day, when I'm gone, someone will sit in the shade of these trees." She knew she might never see those trees grow, but that didn't stop her from planting. Questions. That's the essence of serving without expectation. Doing good without worrying about who benefits or who notices. In daily life, service doesn't have to be something grand. Questions. It can be as simple as listening to someone who's hurting, smiling at a stranger, helping a colleague without waiting for credit. Questions. Or forgiving someone who doesn't even realize how much they hurt you. These small acts, done quietly and sincerely, create ripples of goodness that travel far beyond what we can see. Questions. When you serve without expectation, you shift your focus from yourself to others. You stop asking, "What am I getting?" and start asking, "What am I giving?" This shift changes your energy. Questions. It makes you calmer, more compassionate, and more grounded. Because when your heart is busy giving, it doesn't have time to keep count of what it receives. Let's take a simple example. Questions. Imagine you're at work and a colleague is struggling to complete a project. You decide to help them even though it's not your responsibility. You stay back for an extra hour, assist them, questions, and make sure the task is done well later. They get appreciation for it and you don't. You might feel hurt, even angry. But if your intention was pure, to help, questions, not to be praised, then the peace you feel inside is your true reward. The truth is, every act of service creates two gifts, one for the receiver and one for the giver. Questions. The person you help receives support, but you receive something even more valuable, inner fulfillment. There's a joy that money can't buy, a peace that words can't describe. Questions. When you do something simply because it's good, serving without expectation also teaches humility. It reminds you that the world is bigger than your personal story. Questions. It connects you to something deeper, a sense of purpose beyond ego. When you help others quietly, you become a channel of goodness in a noisy world. And the beautiful part. Questions. The universe always returns what you give, just not always in the way you expect. Think about how nature serves us. The sun rises every morning without asking for thanks. Questions. The tree gives shade to anyone who comes under it, whether it's a saint or a sinner. The river flows freely, quenching the thirst of everyone without choosing who deserves it. Questions. Nature teaches us silent generosity, giving without expecting. If creation itself can serve selflessly, can't we, the most conscious beings on this planet, do the same? Questions. One of the greatest forms of service is when you do something good and you never tell anyone about it. Maybe you pay for someone's meal secretly, donate anonymously, or comfort a friend in silence. Questions. That's when your ego steps aside and your soul takes over. You don't serve to build your image, you serve to build your heart. In today's world, questions. People often do good deeds and rush to post them online. They want validation more than they want connection. But the moment you do something good and expect recognition, you dilute its purity. Questions. Real kindness doesn't announce itself. It whispers. It flows naturally, like a river that doesn't stop to count the lives it nourishes. Serving without expectation also teaches patience. Questions. Because sometimes you won't see the results of your kindness immediately. You may help someone today, and it might take years for them to realize what you did for them. But that's okay. Questions. You didn't do it for their realization. You did it for your evolution. There's a story about a young man who used to visit a hospital every weekend. He didn't know anyone there. Questions. He just went to talk to patients, read to them, and make them smile. One day, someone asked him why he was doing this. He said, "When I was a child, I was sick for months." Questions. And a stranger used to visit me every day to cheer me up. I never got to thank him, but his kindness stayed with me. Questions. I'm just passing it on. That's what selfless service does. It passes light forward. When you serve without expectation, life begins to feel lighter. Questions. You stop carrying the heavy burden of disappointment because you're no longer measuring your actions by other people's responses. You do what's right and let go of the result. That's freedom. Questions. That's peace. And one day when you look back, you'll realize that the moments you felt most alive were not when you were praised or rewarded, but when you were giving, helping, questions, and loving quietly, because that's when your soul was shining the brightest. So, serve without expectation. Do good because it's in your nature, not because someone deserves it. Questions. Smile without reason, give without condition, and love without measure. The world may not always notice, but your heart will. And that quiet satisfaction, that deep sense of purpose, questions, is worth more than any applause ever could be. Questions. Success is a beautiful thing. It's the result of hard work, persistence, and patience. Everyone dreams of it. To rise higher, to achieve more, to make an impact. Questions. But here's what life has taught the wisest among us. It's easy to rise, but it's harder to stay grounded once you do. When life lifts you up, staying humble is what keeps you there. Questions. We often think success changes our circumstances, but in truth, it tests our character. When you rise in your career, your social circle, questions, or your personal goals, the world begins to see you differently. People admire you, respect you, maybe even envy you. Compliments flow in, opportunities multiply. And before you know it, questions. Your name shines brighter than before. But amidst all the lights, it's easy to forget your roots. And that's where many lose themselves. Questions. Staying grounded doesn't mean you shouldn't celebrate your achievements. It simply means remembering what made you reach there. Your effort, your struggles, your values, questions, and the people who helped you along the way. Imagine a tree. The taller it grows, the deeper its roots must go to stay balanced. If its roots are shallow, even a light wind can knock it down. Questions. In the same way, when you rise in life, your humility must grow even deeper. Because humility is what keeps success stable. Let me share a simple story. Questions. There was once a successful businessman who started from scratch. He used to sell tea on a small cart when he was young. Years later, he built a large company, owned luxury cars, questions, and lived in a mansion. One day during a company event, a young employee approached him and said, "Sir, you're truly an inspiration. You've achieved everything." The man smiled and said, questions. "Do you know what my biggest achievement is? I still make tea every Sunday morning. Not because I have to, questions, but to remind myself where I came from." That's what staying grounded looks like. Remembering your beginnings with gratitude, not pride. Questions. Because success without humility is like a balloon. It rises quickly but bursts easily. In daily life, staying grounded means never letting your position make you forget your humanity. Questions. It means treating the cleaner with the same respect you show the CEO. It means saying thank you to the waiter, smiling at the security guard, and listening to people without judging their status. Questions. True greatness doesn't need to shout. It radiates quietly through kindness and respect. Have you ever noticed how truly wise people behave? They're calm, simple, and approachable. Questions. They don't use big words to sound important. They don't walk around expecting admiration. Why? Because they know that real success isn't about how loudly you shine, questions, but how deeply you touch lives. Sometimes life gives us moments of fame or recognition, and the ego begins to whisper, "You're special," questions, "You're better than them." That's the most dangerous moment. Because the moment you start believing you're above others, your growth stops. Humility isn't about thinking less of yourself. Questions. It's about thinking of yourself less. It's about knowing your value without needing to prove it. Think of a mountain. It stands tall and majestic, yet it never looks down on the valley. Questions. It knows its height doesn't make it superior. It simply makes it different. In the same way, when life elevates, you don't look down on others. Remember, everyone's journey is different. Questions. Some are still climbing. Some are struggling at the base, and you were once there too. Here's something beautiful about humility. It attracts grace. Questions. People are naturally drawn to those who are grounded, not boastful. When you treat others kindly, even after success, your presence becomes comforting, not intimidating. Questions. That's the kind of greatness that lasts, the one built on respect, not arrogance. Let's take a relatable example. Suppose you're promoted at work and now lead the team you were once part of. Questions. It's tempting to change your tone, to speak with authority, to show that you're the boss now. But the real leader doesn't demand respect, they earn it. When you stay humble, questions, guide with empathy, and remember your struggles, your team will not just follow your instructions, they'll follow your heart. There's also another side to staying grounded: gratitude. Questions. Gratitude is the anchor that keeps you steady when the winds of success blow too strongly. Every time you feel proud of how far you've come, take a moment to thank the people, circumstances, questions, and even challenges that helped you grow. Thank the teachers who guided you, the failures that shaped you, the critics who pushed you, and the blessings that lifted you. Questions. Gratitude transforms success from ego into grace. One of the most touching examples of grounded success comes from great achievers who never forgot their roots. Questions. You might have heard stories of famous personalities who, even after reaching global fame, still visit their childhood neighborhoods, help their old friends, and live simply. Questions. They know that life's value isn't measured by how high you go, but by how real you remain. When you rise, life gives you choices. You can use your success to elevate yourself, questions, or you can use it to uplift others. One path fills your ego, the other fills your soul. Choose the latter. When your success helps others rise, your legacy becomes eternal. Sometimes, questions. Staying grounded also means accepting that success is temporary. The spotlight moves. Applause fades. But what remains is how you made people feel. If you stayed kind when you could have been arrogant. Questions. If you stayed humble when you could have shown off, people remember you not for your titles, but for your touch. Remember this: a fruit-bearing tree always bends low. The more it produces, questions, the more it humbles itself. That's the law of nature, and it's the secret of life. The more success you gather, the softer your words should become, the more giving your heart should be. So, questions. As you rise, never forget your roots. Keep your feet on the ground even if your dreams are in the sky. Let success polish your character, not your ego. Walk with pride but bow with gratitude. Questions. Because staying grounded doesn't make you smaller. It makes you stronger, wiser, and infinitely more beautiful. The world doesn't need more successful people with arrogance. Questions. It needs successful people with humility. People who can stand tall, yet still remember to bow. And when you live that way, your rise won't just be high, it will be honorable.